Hey, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be recreating this drawing of my cat Rory that I did 2 years ago. When I made this first drawing, I was still very new to Copic markers and very timid with them. Watch along with me to see how I've leveled up and what I've learned. I'm going to talk a little bit about Rory because she is one of the great loves of my life. She will be turning 7 this year, but in the reference photo that I used for this, she was a kitten. Rory came into my life in 2011. At the time, I had a friend who was living in an apartment complex with a large population of feral cats. A lot of the ferals were actually pretty friendly because the residents would leave out scraps for them. My friend started doing this. She didn't have air conditioning, so she would also leave the door to her apartment open in the summer, and sometimes the cats would come inside and visit her. Now, I've had cats my entire life, and I'm pretty knowledgeable about them, whereas my friend never had any experience with them. So one day she called me to tell me that one of her visitors had carried 2 kittens into her apartment. They were still really young and dependent on their mother. I think their eyes had just opened. And my friend was like, "What do I do?" I said, "You know, this is a great opportunity. You can work with these kittens, socialize them, and then you can find them homes so that they don't have to live outdoors in this apartment complex begging for food." I had 2 cats already, so every time I went over to see the kittens, I would tell myself, "Don't get attached. Don't get attached." And guess what? I got attached. Both of the kittens were very sweet, but there was something special about the smaller of the 2. Like I said, I've had cats for most of my life, and my experience with kittens has generally been, although they're adorable and they're playful, they don't really have much interest in interacting with humans. They're kind of in their own little world. I guess I should say they don't have much interest in interacting unless you're playing with them. It's not until they get older that they settle down and they like to cuddle and be affectionate. But this little kitten, whenever I saw her, was obsessed with people. When I came over, she would follow me around. She'd roll and flirt and beg for attention. She was adorable and she knew it, which is dangerous. So one day, once she was eating solid food, I put her in my car and brought her home. I was just like, oops, guess I got 3 cats now. Rory's sister also found a good home, and the mama cat got spayed. She was a little too wild to become anyone's indoor pet, but at least she got a break from the endless cycle of raising kittens and adding to the homeless cat population. I don't have any human children, but Rory made me feel a lot like what I imagine a new mother feels like. She would fall asleep on me, and no matter where I was or what I was doing, it would make me fall asleep too. I'd be sitting up straight at my computer typing, she'd come sit on my lap, fall asleep, and I would pass out sitting up. Now, I said that when I brought her home, she was eating solid food. Once I got her home, she decided she wanted nothing to do with solid food anymore. Of course, I panicked and I went out and got kitten replacement milk, which I bottle fed to her. She continued asking me to bottle feed her until she was 10 weeks old. One day I caught her eating the other cat's dry food. Not even like the soft canned food, but actual dry crunchy food. And she got this look like, "You didn't see that," and skulked away. That's when the bottle feeding stopped. Out of the 2 cats that I had before I adopted Rory, one of them, Dexter, has unfortunately passed away, but the other, Lupin, is still with me. He and Rory moved with me from Pennsylvania to Southern California back in 2012. It wasn't long after that move that I met my wife, Courtney, and since she and I have been together, we've adopted 2 more cats. So now I have Lupin, Rory, Bailey, and Echo. You can see all of them except for Echo, who is a little bit antisocial, in my 3-marker challenge video that I did, where I let my cats pick my colors. I'll link it down in the description in case you'd like to check it out. I'll probably end up drawing all of my cats for this channel at some point, but for now I should probably stop talking about them and start talking about the artwork. So even though I used the same reference photo for both of these drawings, I obviously redid my initial sketch this time around. I think the original drawing of Rory was kind of squished and skewed in some spots, and for a while I was honestly having a problem where I felt like my sketches skewed to the right. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but I always kept my references on my computer screen. So I was looking at a vertical surface, but then drawing flat on my desk, which was a horizontal surface, and something was getting lost in the translation there. It was a pretty easy fix. Even though I don't hold my sketchbook completely vertical now when I sketch, I do keep it at a closer angle to the computer screen. Just that little change helps me get my angles and perspective to be a lot more accurate. Another big difference from the original piece is that I now do all my line art in colored pencil. I don't know what it is, but I have always had trouble with multi-liner. It doesn't move very smoothly across the page for me, it kind of snags and skips. I feel like I get much smoother, cleaner lines when I use colored pencil, and I like that the lines are softer too. I'm not a fan of Prismacolor Premier pencils at all, but my Prismacolor Verithin pencils have become my BFFs for any kind of line art. As I've gotten more comfortable with and experienced with my Copic markers, I don't do near as much blending as I did in the beginning. I know one of the reasons that people love Copic so much, one of the main draws of these markers, is the ability to create these beautiful, smooth blends. But if you do too much wet-on-wet blending without letting the layers dry in between, your colors start to get muddy and mixed up. If you have the right paper, you can actually get quite a few layers with Copics, and it almost becomes like glazing with watercolors. The colors are never totally opaque, so in certain places your lightest layers and colors will still show through, which allows you to get a lot of texture and depth that you wouldn't get if you just do one smooth blend. Tabby cats tend to have a light-colored undercoat. Actually, most animals do. And Rory has a really pretty, creamy golden undercoat. I feel like working in layers was the best way to convey that. I've also gotten a lot more comfortable adding color to areas of white fur. In nature, you never really see something that's white as a pure white because there's different colors in the reflections and shadows coming off of it. In my first drawing of Rory, I did all of the shadows on her white areas in warm gray, no variation. In the second piece, I did an overall wash of the lightest color of warm gray, just to denote where the white areas were. But then I built up the shadows in blue-violet, which once again gives a greater sense of depth. There was a point where I was afraid that I had gone too dark and too saturated with the shadows, and I was like, oh no, all this work and I've ruined it. But colors are always relative to the colors that you put around them, and I knew I was going to be going darker in the brown areas. Once I did, that balanced out the darker blue-violet, and actually it turned out pretty nice. When you've been working on your art and trying to improve, it can sometimes really be hard to see how far you've come. So redrawing an old piece like this can be a really sort of affirming experience. Sometimes your ego just needs that extra boost of, yeah, I have come pretty far with this. I have leveled up and I'm a better artist than I used to be. So I would definitely recommend this challenge to anybody. Take a piece of art that you created years ago but you loved when you created it, and do it again, but make sure to do it with all the new skills and techniques that you've learned since then. I want to briefly touch on things to come for this channel. Releasing a video every other Sunday has been working out for me so far, although you can expect 2 new videos from me early on in May. There will be the regularly scheduled video on the weekend of May 5th, and then on May 10th, I am participating unofficially in the YouTube Animal Artists Collective. I don't have enough subscribers yet to apply for official membership, but I think it's a really great concept, and I want to become more involved in the larger animal artist community here. So that'll be fun. I've also noticed that there's been a larger influx of views since my last video, and there's a few new subscribers here. Welcome, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I would absolutely love your feedback. If there's something you'd like to see me do a video on, whether it's a tutorial, a product review, etc., let me know and I'll take it into consideration. I want to make videos that you folks want to watch. Otherwise, there's really no point in me making them, is there? Now I'm going to leave you with some music for a few minutes. Rory loved watching me do the voiceover for this, mostly because I said her name a lot, and she knows I'm talking about her. I hope that you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Please consider giving me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. Until next time, Jessica out.